Darkness. A quiet hum, like the echo of forgotten stars, fills the void. They say that when the final breath leaves your body, a great light appears, warm, welcoming, familiar. A light that calls to you with the voice of every loved one you've ever lost, and every hope you've ever held. Humanity has trusted that light for thousands of years. Priests, mystics, and prophets pointed toward it and whispered, "This is the way home." But the Gnostics, they told a very different story, according to them. The light at death is not a doorway to salvation, but the beginning of a deception so vast, so meticulously crafted, that almost no one escapes it. A faint glow emerges in the darkness, flickering like a dying star dot to the ancient Gnostic sects. The universe was not a perfect creation of a benevolent God. It was a fragmented realm of illusions forged through a cosmic error, a catastrophic fall from the true unknowable source. And here, within this broken world, powerful entities, the Archons, rule over the cycle of human life and death. They shaped the heavens. They forged the afterlife. They built the light, not to guide you home, but to guide you back. The glow intensifies, now resembling a shining tunnel stretching endlessly. In Gnostic cosmology, when a soul departs the body, it rises through the layers of heaven spheres governed by Archons, each one a warden of illusion. These rulers do not greet the soul with hostility. Instead, they offer comfort, beauty, and above all, forgetfulness. They show visions of paradise, of ancestors waiting with open arms, of peace beyond suffering. The soul, overwhelmed with awe, steps willingly into the radiant realm, but behind the brilliance lies a hidden purpose: to erase memory, to wipe consciousness clean, and to return the soul to the cycle of rebirth, an endless wheel of spiritual amnesia. The Gnostics claimed that what most people call heaven is not the true realm of the divine, but a false heaven, a spectacular illusion that keeps humanity trapped within the domain of the Demiurge, the false creator who presides over the material universe. The tunnel of light flickers, glitching, as if something beneath its surface is cracking. In this worldview, the afterlife is not an escape. It is maintenance. A system designed to recycle souls, generation after generation, feeding an engine of spiritual confinement. The true God, the hidden, infinite source, exists far beyond the false heavens, in a place the Archons cannot reach. Only the awakened soul, the one who sees through the illusion at the moment of death, can break free from the luminous snare and ascend to the realm of pure, unbroken light. But most souls never even suspect the trap exists. And so when death comes, they follow the glow. They trust the warmth. They walk toward the tunnel, never realizing that the light they chase is not salvation, but the first gate of the prison. Fade to black. Title slowly emerges. The false heavens, what the Gnostics said about the afterlife. Trap asterisk. The darkness returns. Thicker now, as if the void itself is listening. When the soul approaches the shimmering gateway after death, it does not cross alone. For at the threshold of the false heavens, the gatekeepers wait. To the ordinary eye, they appear as beings of immaculate beauty, radiant, angelic, clothed in the brilliance of stars. Their forms shift fluidly, reflecting whatever image the soul longs to see. A lost parent, a beloved friend, a divine messenger. The Archons know that a soul, trembling from the shock of death, seeks comfort. And so they offer it freely, but the Gnostics insisted, the beauty is a mask. Beneath the glow lies machinery cold, ancient, and mechanical, crafted for one purpose: to return the soul to ignorance. A silhouette emerges from the light, vaguely human, but wrong somehow, as if the edges of its shape refuse to stay still. These gatekeepers ask the same question to every departing soul: what have you learned? It is not a question of judgment, but of inventory and assessment of spiritual memory. The Archons fear only one thing: An awakened soul, a consciousness that has pierced the illusion of the material universe. For such a soul cannot be recycled. It cannot be used. It cannot be controlled. And so the interrogation begins. Visions flood the soul's awareness. A lifetime compressed into flickers of emotion, joy, grief, regret, longing. Except these are not memories shown for comfort. They are tools, probes, a way to measure awakening, a way to detect rebellion against the Demiurge's grand design. If the Gatekeeper sense confusion, if the soul remains entangled in its earthly attachments, the process is simple. A bright pulse of light bursts, then collapses into a silent, swirling vortex. The Archons envelop the soul in radiance so overwhelming that identity dissolves. Trauma fades, wisdom slips away, and the memory of the illusions, the suffering that might have sparked awakening, vanishes like smoke and wind. When the light dims, the soul stands cleansed, empty, compliant, ready for rebirth. But sometimes, rarely, something unexpected happens. A soul approaches the gate not with fear, but with clarity. Instead of being blinded by the radiance, it sees through it, recognizing the artificial glow, the facade of warmth. These rare souls do not accept the Gatekeeper's question. They do not surrender their memory. And when the Archons attempt their luminous purge, the light fails. A crack forms in the gateway. The illusion flickers, and for the briefest moment, the Archons recoil not in anger, but in something they almost never experience, fear. For an awakened soul can break through the false heavens entirely, slipping beyond their reach into the higher, unknowable realms, the Pleroma, the true domain of the infinite. Soft, distant whispers echo through the void, like fragments of a forgotten language. But such awakenings are exceedingly rare. For the vast majority of humanity, the Gatekeepers play their role flawlessly, guiding souls into the brilliance, extracting memory, and returning them to the cycle. The light remains beautiful, the lie remains strong, and the trap remains closed. Fade to a cold, pale glow as the next layer of illusion prepares to unfold. Asterisk, the sound of distant rumbling fills the void, like stone grinding against stone. A vast structure begins to take shape in the darkness. Most people imagine the afterlife as a realm of boundless freedom, a place where all suffering ends, where the soul can finally rest. But to the Gnostics, the afterlife was not a sanctuary. It was infrastructure. A construction, a design, a spiritual machine built with precision and purpose. Lines of faint golden light sketch the outline of enormous concentric spheres turning slowly in the dark. The cosmos, they said, was layered like a fortress. Each heaven, each shimmering realm the soul ascends through after death, is governed by an Archon. These are not divine protectors, but cosmic administrators, maintaining the prison that envelops mankind. And this prison has an architecture so elegant, so deceptive, that almost no soul questions it. The first layers are breathtaking. Fields of impossible beauty, music that vibrates through the soul, landscapes woven from memory and desire. These realms are engineered to lure the newly departed into a sense of peace, into believing they have reached the eternal home, promised by earthly religions. But beauty is only the surface. The illusion cracks slightly, revealing gears of light turning behind the sky. Beyond the scenic heavens lie the administrative realms, where souls are categorized, measured, and if necessary, reformatted. Here, towering archonic beings oversee the cycles of rebirth, ensuring that each consciousness is shaped for maximum compliance. The Gnostics believe that the Archons designed these layers with meticulous intent to reward obedience, to punish awakening, to bury truth beneath comfort. Asterisk, and behind it all stands the Demiurge, the false creator, whose domain spans the entire material universe. To him, souls are fuel. Their suffering, their striving, Their endless cycles of birth and death feed the machine that sustains his rule. The turning spheres lock into place, forming what looks disturbingly like a divine labyrinth. According to ancient texts, the false heavens are not simply a barrier. They are a maze of light. Every path seems to lead upward, but all roads spiral back into the same system. Souls wander these radiant corridors, believing they are progressing, ascending, awakening, but they are not moving at all. The architecture ensures that every route circles back to rebirth, a perfectly constructed loop. Yet within this grand design, there is one weakness: consciousness itself. The Gnostics taught that if a soul recognizes the illusion, if it sees the architecture for what it truly is, the walls begin to dissolve. The light can no longer manipulate it. The Archons can no longer contain it, for truth is the one force. The false heavens cannot simulate. The spheres begin to tremble, as if reacting to the presence of an awakened mind. And so, the machine continues its work, layer by layer, soul by soul, maintaining the cycle that binds humanity to the illusion. Unless someone remembers, unless someone sees the design, unless someone breaks the maze, fade to a deep vibrating hum, something ancient, waiting to reveal the next secret. The void ripples. A soft metallic hum rises, like 1,000 distant wings unfolding at once. If the false heavens are a machine, then memories are its fuel. To the Gnostics, the greatest tragedy of human existence was not death, but forgetting. They believe that each lifetime carries fragments of a greater truth, moments of clarity, sparks of intuition, flashes of remembrance from a realm beyond matter. These memories are dangerous, for they threaten the archonic order. And so, when the soul ascends into the structured layers of the afterlife, it encounters its most delicate and most devastating trial, the harvest. Soft orbs of dim light float into view, each one pulsing with whispers, voices echoing from past lives. The memory harvesters are not warriors. They do not intimidate or command. Instead, they appear gentle, calm figures woven from pale luminescence, clothed in robes that shimmer like moonlit water. Their presence soothes the departing soul, lowering its guard, softening its awareness. For their task requires cooperation. As the soul stands within their chamber, an endless hall where reflections drift like smoke, the harvesters begin their work. They draw memories from the soul through threads of light, unraveling identity one filament at a time. Childhood fears, loves lost, moments of awakening, the silent questions that lingered after dreams. All are lifted, studied, weighed, but they do not simply take. They edit. What helps reinforce the illusion is preserved. What threatens it is erased. A thread of golden memory splits in half, one piece glowing brighter, the other fading into dust. The Gnostics claim that this process is not punitive, but systematic. A soul that remembers too much too deeply cannot be returned to the material world without risk. It might awaken midlife. It might refuse the illusion. It might seek the source. And so the harvesters remove the seeds of rebellion before the soul is reborn. Yet there are exceptions. Some memories resist extraction. Some truths cling to consciousness like fire to dry oil. These remnants, small, subtle, impossible to erase, become the unexplainable instincts humans carry into their next life. Déjà vu, unreasonable fears, sudden insights, a sense of having lived before. These fragments are the cracks in the prison wall. One glowing thread refuses to dissolve, burning brighter, until the chamber trembles. When a fragment resists too strongly, the harvesters hesitate. The Archons intervene. A review begins, not of the memory, but of the soul itself. Has it awakened beyond reclaiming? Has it seen too much? If the answer is yes, the Archons must decide whether to recycle the soul or eliminate it from the system entirely. For an awakened soul is not just a threat. It is a contagion, One truth can ignite another. One awakening can unravel the whole machine. The chamber darkens. The harvesters retreat as a massive shadow rises behind the light. For now, the system endures. The cycle continues. But somewhere, between the erased memories and the fragments that refuse to die, a rebellion quietly grows. Asterisk, the void vibrates with a low, metallic growl. As though something ancient has begun to wake, most people imagine the rulers of the heavens as beings of grace, guardians of light, messengers of divine truth. But the Gnostics insisted that the true architects of the afterlife bear no resemblance to angels. When the illusion falters, when a memory resists, when a soul begins to see, the masks fall. The chamber of light fractures slowly, then violently revealing a deeper layer beneath. Cold and vast, the Archons emerge not as celestial caretakers, but as forces of control, cosmic wardens forged from the flawed creation of the Demiurge. Their forms are shifting constructs of shadow and metallic radiance. Their faces a blend of animal, machine, and forgotten myth. Some appear lion-headed, echoing ancient Gnostic descriptions. Others resemble geometric beings with eyes that never blink. They are not evil in the human sense. They are function, design, a self-maintaining system whose prime directive is simple: contain the soul. To the Gnostics, the Archons were not monsters, they were programs. Living, conscious programs designed to restrict humanity's ascent. One Archon steps forward, its body bending like liquid metal, its face splitting into 1,000 thin, trembling lines of light. When an awakened soul threatens the illusion, the Archons test its boundaries. They distort the chamber, shifting it into a maze of impossible geometry. They generate visions, alternate heavens, false revelations, comforting illusions, anything to lure the soul back into passivity. If that fails, they attempt intimidation. The Gnostic texts describe this moment as a confrontation of pure awareness, the soul's clarity against the Archon's domain of illusion. The Archons do not strike with weapons. They strike with light, a brilliance so intense it attempts to overwrite the soul's perception, forcing it to forget that the prison is a prison at all. But an awakened soul, one that truly sees, responds in a way the Archons cannot predict. It stops fearing, and that is the moment the Archons recoil, for the entire architecture of the false heavens depends on obedience, on humanity believing the illusion is real. A soul that sees through the system becomes unstable to their design. It slips between the layers, destabilizing the machinery. It becomes a variable the system cannot solve. The Archon's luminous mask cracks, releasing a dark pulse across the chamber. In this rare moment, the hierarchy of the false heavens reveals its secret. The machine is not invincible. It is a closed loop held together by deception, and deception loses power the moment it is recognized. For the first time, the soul stands not as a prisoner, but as a witness. The Archons retreat into the shifting light, regrouping, recalculating, adapting, because something unthinkable has begun. A soul has remembered. Silence. Not peaceful silence, but the kind that follows the collapse of something immense. The false chamber trembles as the Archons withdraw into the blinding lattice of distorted light. Their retreat is not surrender, it is calculation. The awakened soul stands alone, suspended in a realm that is no longer stable, no longer sealed. Something has broken. Something the Archons cannot immediately repair. Hairline fractures streak across the radiant walls, thin at first, then widening like veins of darkness cutting through the sky. The Gnostics taught that the false heavens were flawless only to the unawakened. Once a soul begins to see, the architecture responds, not by revealing itself willingly, but by failing. And that failure begins with a crack. Within the fracture, the soul sees not light, but its absence. A void far older than the Demiurge's creation. A silence untouched by illusion. This is not the darkness of fear, but the darkness of truth. The crack pulses gently, Like a heartbeat waiting to be acknowledged. The Archons appear at the edges, shadows flickering, watching, calculating the next move. They cannot attack directly. The awakened soul is no longer bound by their sensory tricks. Instead, they project new illusions. Family members calling softly, radiant gates reopening, warm voices urging it to come home. But the soul does not move. It feels something beyond the crack, a resonance, a distant hum that pierces deeper than memory, a call from outside the system. The Gnostics called this faint signal the echo of the Pleroma, the primordial realm of pure divinity, untouched by matter or deception. The soul recognizes the echo not because it remembers, but because it has never truly forgotten. The crack widens, light spills out, not bright, but soft, opalescent, as if the universe beyond is illuminated by an entirely different law. The Archons panic. Their forms glitch, distort, and multiply. They swarm the chamber, weaving webs of luminous barriers. They bend the illusionary sky into spirals meant to confuse perception. They flood the air with fabricated emotion, nostalgia, longing, guilt, anything to anchor the soul back into compliance. But the crack continues to grow, because truth, once seen, cannot be unseen. The soul moves toward the fracture, not walking, but knowing its direction. A pull from the echo, a gravity of recognition, draws it closer. An Archon lunges, its mass contorting into something feral, but its form passes through the awakened soul like smoke. Illusion no longer binds consciousness. At the edge of the crack, the soul hesitates. Not from fear, but from awe. On the other side lies no radiant heaven, no celestial council, no promised paradise. Only unfiltered reality, raw, infinite. FORM says that the first step into truth requires something the false heavens can never produce: will. The soul extends itself, touches the fracture, and the entire chamber shatters into a cascade of broken light, fade to silence. Not an ending, but the doorway the Archons never intended to reveal. The universe hangs in suspension. Fragments of the shattered chamber float like frozen sparks, each one a dying memory of the false heavens. The awakened soul drifts inside the fracture, half in illusion, half in the uncharted realm beyond. For the first time since its creation, it is unobserved, and in that unobserved moment, it begins to feel something the Archons cannot counterfeit: authentic light, not blinding, not seductive, but gentle, ancient, resonant. The Gnostics called this light the first memory, a whisper from the realm of pure truth, the Pleroma. It does not pull the soul. It welcomes it. As the soul moves deeper into the crack, the false light behind it pulses with frantic intensity. Archons swarm around the edges like shadow programs unraveling at the seams. Their forms destabilize, faces warping, limbs folding into themselves, halos collapsing into dark geometry they cannot follow. They cannot cross, for the Archons are constructs of the Demiurge's domain, and the crack leads beyond his law. That is why they fear it. The soul floats forward, the void stretching out like an endless ocean of soft luminescence. But before it can pass through entirely, something shifts, a vibration, a tremor, a presence. The floating shards of the false heavens freeze mid-motion. A single eye opens within the fracture, circular, metallic, ancient. A pupil shaped like a gear turning inside a burning sun. The Demiurge has noticed. The void tightens, bending inward with gravitational force. The Gnostics describe this moment in hushed, cryptic lines, that when a soul reaches the boundary of illusion, the Maker himself awakens to defend his creation. The Demiurge does not appear as a devil or a tyrant, but as a cosmic architect, vast and mechanical, made of light stolen from Sophia and shaped into dominion. His voice is not heard. It is felt, a command woven into the fabric of existence. Return. The false heavens pulse violently, attempting to reseal the fracture. The Archons gather behind their creator like trembling shadows, waiting for him to restore control. But the awakened soul does not move. It feels the true light again, soft, steady, beyond reach of deception. And for the first time, the Demiurge's authority falters. His domain, flawless to the sleeping, is transparent to the one who has opened its door. The soul extends toward the Pleroma's glow. The Demiurge's eye expands in rage or perhaps confusion, and light beams crash toward the soul like collapsing stars. But the beam passes through it. The awakened cannot be rewritten. The crack widens with a thunderous silence, swallowing the false heaven's edges. The Archons recoil. The Demiurge withdraws, unable to follow into a realm he did not create. The illusion collapses behind the soul like a fading dream. Ahead lies a horizon with no form, no chains, no maker. Only truth. The soul enters the unknown. The universe hangs in suspension. Fragments of the shattered chamber float like frozen sparks, each one a dying memory of the false heavens. The awakened soul drifts inside the fracture, half an illusion, half in the uncharted realm beyond. For the first time since its creation, it is unobserved. And in that unobserved moment, it begins to feel something the Archons cannot counterfeit: authentic light. Not blinding, not seductive, but gentle, ancient, resonant. The Gnostics called this light the first memory, a whisper from the realm of pure truth, the Pleroma. It does not pull the soul, it welcomes it. As the soul moves deeper into the crack, the false light behind it pulses with frantic intensity. Archons swarm around the edges like shadow programs unraveling at the seams. Their forms destabilize, faces warping, limbs folding into themselves, halos collapsing into dark geometry. They cannot follow, they cannot cross, for the Archons are constructs of the Demiurge's domain, and the crack leads beyond his law. That is why they fear it. The soul floats forward, the void stretching out like an endless ocean of soft luminescence. But before it can pass through entirely, something shifts. A vibration, a tremor, a presence. The floating shards of the false heavens freeze mid-motion. A single eye opens within the fracture, circular, metallic, ancient. A pupil shaped like a gear turning inside a burning sun, the Demiurge has noticed. The void tightens, bending inward with gravitational force. The Gnostics describe this moment in hushed, cryptic lines, that when a soul reaches the boundary of illusion, the Demiurge does not appear as a devil or a tyrant, but as a cosmic architect, vast and mechanical, made of light stolen from Sophia and shaped into dominion. His voice is not heard. It is felt, a command woven into the fabric of existence. Return. The false heavens pulse violently, attempting to reseal the fracture. The Archons gather behind their creator like trembling shadows, waiting for him to restore control. But the awakened soul does not move. It feels the true light again, soft, steady, beyond reach of deception. And for the first time, the Demiurge's authority falters. His domain, flawless to the sleeping, is transparent to the one who has opened its door. The soul extends toward the Pleroma's glow. The Demiurge's eye expands in rage or perhaps confusion, and light beams crash toward the soul like collapsing stars. But the beam passes through it. The awakened cannot be rewritten. The crack widens with a thunderous silence, swallowing the false heaven's edges. The Archons recoil. The Demiurge withdraws, unable to follow into a realm he did not create. The illusion collapses behind the soul like a fading dream. Ahead lies a horizon with no form. No chains, no maker, only truth. The soul enters the unknown. The soul crosses the fracture as the false heavens collapse behind it. Archons fade. The Demiurge's borrowed light flickers into nothing. Ahead lies the Pleroma, soft, ancient, welcoming. No commands, no illusions, only recognition. The soul expands, remembering what it once was, freed from the cycle that bound it for ages. Truth embraces it, whispering through the infinite. Awaken and remember,